While we're
Okay,
waiting.
here we are. We are here. We are here. So here's this is Lianna Walden here, sex and relationship coach and sexual energy activator, and my channel for the month of March is all about threesomes. So I halfway through the month, and I've been posting videos talking about creating threesomes, talking to your partner about threesomes, visualizing having a threesome, and I'm gonna be continuing these videos to the end of the month. And I said I would throw in a couple of lives if possible as well. And so today is the first live that I'm having, and I brought in M Fox, and she's from Vancouver. And she's had a lot of experience, and she comes from a different perspective than I do because I was always in a coupledom, bringing in the third. And so I've been talking a lot about that, about what it is to be a couple, to bring in the third, how to deal with that, what it's all about, and all this kind of stuff. And we'll get into some of those details. Emma comes from her own perspective, and I'm going to have her talk a little bit about herself and her perspective, and yeah, we'll get into how do you how can you have this threesome with your wife? How can you have the best experience? How what is the woman thinking, and what kind of experience is she hoping for? So, Emma, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having
Good.
me.
So good to see you. So tell us
Yeah.
about a bit about you, Emma, and a little bit about your perspective on the threesome scenario.
Oh boy. So I, my perspective right now is coming as I'm a single woman, and I have a lot of friends actually who are couples who are swingers and whatnot. So I've been in, I've had the privilege and honor of being invited into other couples' intimate space, and it's been pretty amazing for me. I really enjoy it, and I have built some really strong connections because of it. And
Hmm.
so yeah, so that would be my perspective, and also the perspective of identifying as a woman as well. So I can also talk to that a little bit through that lens or that perspective. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Emma came on and talked to me. It was probably last year sometime, and we did something a little bit similar, but I wanted to dive in even deeper. We talked about what the perspective was of the single woman coming into the threesome, and
Hmm.
we'll talk a bit more about that because there was a lot of juicy stuff around that, and I talk about how as a couple you're coming in and you're really the power source because you have the two of you, even though you're terrified. I remember, well, you always get nervous about this scenario because you don't know if it's a new third coming in. You don't really know how it's energetically going to play out and how you're going to feel, and so it can be scary and sometimes terrifying in your early experiences. But when you're with your partner, you at least you have each other. The third coming in is on their own, however. So, um, how does it feel being that person, being that one that the
Hmm.
couples are looking for if they want to have an MFF, let's say?
Yeah. So for me, it's also a position of being nervous because um, I'm entering into this loving relationship. It's a very intimate space, and I don't want to enter that space in a way that is disrespectful or um, greedy. And that does happen, and I've heard stories around that. Um, Yeah, and I also want to feel safe. And so, what that means for me is that there's really honest, open communication from the couple as to what their boundaries are,
Mm,
where they're at, what are they actually looking for. Because if I don't have that, it's like going in blind. And then
mm,
if I somehow manage to cross a boundary that the couple did not divulge, they didn't let me know that this was an issue for them, then I'm gonna cause some friction in that space. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person. And I definitely don't want to create that unbeknownst to me that's happening between the partners. So honest, open communication is a must. If that's not there, if you're in the back of your mind, let's say one of the partners is not really into me, or whether it's the husband or the wife, or you know, and then they don't speak up, then
Yeah.
it's going to create a whole slew of drama and a chain reaction that is not going to be fun for everybody. And that's the whole point of the threesome, is to have pleasure and to enjoy each other's company and to create depth and meaningful connections. At least for me, that's for me, right? That's how I view it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, everybody has different reasons for going into it, for sure. And I'm just going to backtrack a bit because I talk a lot about how, in my experience and in many people that I've talked about, there's this first kind of maybe non-committal meeting that you have where you can, have a coffee or a drink together as you come in as the third, and they have the couple, and just talk, like you say, talk about sex, talk about what you've been doing, what you like, what you don't like, what experiences you have, get to know each other a bit. Do you have that opportunity to do that with people, or what do you feel is usually the direction for you?
Yeah, that's usually my preference, because I actually am someone who requires a connection with the people I'm with. It's not really just about the sex for me. I want to create a relationship with these people. And by that, I don't mean like I want to become their girlfriend. It's not what I mean. But there is this honoring and a connection to the people you're going to spend your time with. And for me, yeah, I really enjoy having like a first meet and greet where we just kind of talk over drinks or dinner or something about what are some of the things that they want to experience, what is it that I'd like to experience, and really have a very honest, open conversation around that. Right? We talk about um, STDs. We talk about the boundaries. We talk about, what their fears are, and I always let couples know that when I'm in their space, regardless of what's going on, whether we started off and it was a real juicy start, if something happens throughout that our exchange that doesn't feel right, you have a right, as do I, to stop, to ask, to say this is not feeling good anymore. I need a pause, and so for me, it's important for couples to know that I'm okay with that. It's okay if we have to stop, especially if
Hmm.
it's your first time. Like, don't be afraid to say, "Hey, I'm just a little uncomfortable here. Can my husband and I talk about it, or my spouse, and we'll just get back to you." And so, for me, yeah, that initial meeting also, for me, what it does is it shows me what is the communication like between the two people.
Mm.
If I feel that there's not good communication, if
Hmm.
they don't talk with respect about one another, if I feel that there's a friction somehow or a disconnect, then that's my cue to not enter that space. That is not a safe space for me to enter.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah, I've been talking a lot in the videos that I started in March about questions to ask your partner before you go into organizing the threesome, but really getting into um, finding out what your partner wants, where their boundaries are, what they feel, why they want to have a threesome, what's off limits, what's on limits. Like really getting to know your partner first, and really making sure that communication between the two of you is really strong.
mhm.
So then when you go in to meet the third, there's always going to be surprises and new things that come up and questions that you've never heard before. But at least you have a base to work from. And I love what you're saying, like, you coming in as a third, you want to see that the people that you're going to be having an experience with are communicating and sort of have a bit of groundwork done already, right? They're not completely lost, and they're not butting heads about things. They actually, are coming in open minded, clear about who they are and what they want, and then they're able to like really invite you in a really welcoming and loving way, non-judgmental way as well, and have a conversation that goes beyond, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because, like I said, being the single person and the outsider, if you will, entering that space, I don't want to be put in a position where if that foundation is unstable, I don't want to be the one that like pokes it and then everything falls apart.
Yeah.
That will be a terrible feeling for me. Not that I'm responsible for that. However, I will be part of that demise of that situation, right? And like I said, I'm in it for the pleasure and for um, honoring also the couple and what they're experiencing, because what I've discovered at being the one that's invited into a couple's intimate space is that it's really a great opportunity for the couple to deepen their love and connection to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times after leaving a couple, going home, the next day I will get a thank you text. Thank you so much. After you left, like we couldn't keep our hands off each other. We went at it for another 3 hours. And, and to me that's worth it, because that it shows that they're in love with each other and that they're doing this for each other and with each other. It's not just I want it, but my partner doesn't, and we're just doing it for me, for my
Mm-hmm.
pleasure, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
both people need to be on board. Both people need to be turned on and fired up about that exchange.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That's again, having the discussions beforehand, and this is kind of an entry, one of the entry points into really starting to sexually explore with your partner. So the two of you are on this journey together. You're already, having a threesome is not going to save your relationship. It's it's
Mm.
it's for couples that are already stable, already sexual, feel good about each other, and say, hey, like, there's more to explore. Let's see what else there is. Let's open the doors of our relationship and go on a journey together, right? Go on a play journey together, an adult play together. So it's really important. The communication is so important, and not just in this pre-meeting, which is sort of sets the energetic tone, right? So okay, so oh wow, we really like this person, you like each other, da 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 da, and
Mhm.
and then you can continue the conversation to try to set up an actual play date.
Mhm. One of the things I want you to know is that sometimes it takes time.
Yeah.
Like I have been with couples where I've actually, been back and forth with them communicating by text, or had one meeting and then it doesn't actually happen till a year later.
Yeah.
So it takes time. It takes time to get comfortable. It takes time to get to know the person, and then their schedules and life events, and you have kids and you've got job, and you have to be really patient, and not try and rush it. And usually in the long run, that ends up being you have a very beautiful experience. So just to give you an example, just this weekend I was at a party and with other swingers, and these are people that I know and I've spent time connecting with. And there's what was one particular couple that I know who fairly new to the scene, and have yet um, to breach that boundary of actually, um, the woman was able to have sex with other women that she was attracted to, but she wasn't super confident and comfortable yet for her husband to have that experience. He would
Mm.
participate by watching and doing a bit of cuddling, that sort of thing. But then this weekend, and I've been talking with them quite often, and this weekend, that was they she especially felt very safe with me, and we had a discussion, and it happened at the party, and they were ready. So you want to make sure that if you're with someone and this is your first time, you want to make sure that that person is willing to do that, to have a bit of patience, to not push you to come on, let's do this sort of thing, because that's not really a safe person to invite into your space.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I totally agree. This concept, the idea that you need a lot of patience. I mean, two people is enough. We've put a third in. You're getting a whole new energetic state
Oh,
coming in, and
yes.
there's I was involved with a lot of threesomes with MMF, and people say, "Oh, men want to have sex all the time. They're always ready to go." It's absolutely not true. It's the same thing. Sometimes it took a year to connect with that person that we all, we really liked and we wanted to get together, just because of schedules and time and how all of you feel. You have to all be in a good space. You have to all be ready for the experience. And then going into the experience, it's not necessarily going to be this full on event the first time. There may be a certain, like, a lot of boundaries that are put up because someone's just not comfortable and they need more time than someone else just to get to know the third person and feel comfortable in the situation, feel comfortable allowing their partner to do certain kinds of things. And so really creating threesomes big patience is required. But I always found that it was still always fun because it's always the anticipation, right? You're talking to different people, you're talking about sex, you're learning about yourself. Maybe even just the drink is titillating, right? And that can take you and your partner off for like hours of great sexual, connection with each other. And like you said, it's really that building of a stronger love and a stronger connection together as a partnership. Yeah, and I think most people that I've talked to, they're not necessarily looking for like long-term friendships, but they're looking for connection with somebody. They're looking for somebody that they can feel, first of all, like you say, really safe, really comfortable, be on the same page about life in general, and with the possibility, hey, this person is really cool. This is really great. We like this person, and it would be cool to go, farther with them in a more intimate way. And I just wanted to bring out another point that you talked about, and talk a little bit about this as well, about this being able to say no comfortably in the situation. Being able to say no, like you finally have the day, you get together, and it's things start to come together. The three of you are together, and someone just says, like, it's not working for me, and to not judge that, and to just be able to say, okay, that's fine. We're just going to sit here and relax, and maybe that person will start to feel more comfortable, but to allow for the no's without having to get any reasons for it. It's just not working for that person, not to take it personally as well, right?
Yeah, and also, instead of even the yes and no, sometimes with yes and no's, we create a power struggle. So it would be lovely if you're open to negotiating,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
so let's say, you're talking to your partner and your partner's not comfortable with you doing X, Y, and Z, whether it's penetrating somebody. Then you can negotiate. Okay, well, what are the things? Am I able to do this? Is it possible for me to do this
Mm-hmm.
instead? Right? And then
Mm-hmm.
and being open to negotiate so that both people within the couple get something from that experience, right? I think
Yeah.
that's important too, to be open to having some negotiation with your partner in regards to that. I mean, one couple, I was their first third. They negotiated. She said, "Okay, we're going to have this threesome. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable seeing you penetrate another woman. So for our first time, there is to be no penetration. You can do anything else. Everything else is on the table, but
Mm-hmm.
not that." And so that's what happened, and that was our experience. And I was okay with that. Like I was fine. I didn't need penetration, and I also knew it was their first time, so it's not like I'm gonna, oh wow, sorry. I mean, you can, as a third person, you can say, I'm sorry, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of new couples get turned down by people because it's their first time. So be aware of that as well. So that might happen to you for the
Mm.
first times. Um, However, that happened. And then the next thing, that went really well. We had a great conversation afterward. How was that for you? Was it good? Could I have done something different? And then they invited me back. And then the following time, penetration was on the table. So, if you are open to negotiating, I think that will give you a really great experience. It gives you moments to see, oh yeah, well maybe I am comfortable with this, or yeah, this was really good actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it breeds
Mm-hmm.
trust. It breeds trust between the three people.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. Yeah, I think you have to really keep the lines of communication really open with each other
Mhm.
as a couple. With the third, there may be a third coming. The third person's coming, and maybe it's only the second time you've met this person. You don't know them that well, but they're vulnerable just like you are. They're nervous. They want to make this the best experience possible for everybody. Everybody's there to help each other, to make sure that everybody's comfortable. And if there's a line and somebody says, well, no, this, I mean, I remember one of my early experiences. Went to this guy's place. We'd met him before. It was fine. Went to his place, and we had half our clothes off, I think, and things were starting to get heated. And suddenly he said, I can't do this. And I was like, what do you mean you can't do this? He's like, no, I just can't do it. My husband was like, okay, no problem. He can't do it. That's fine, no problem. And we got dressed and we went out, and I was just like mortified that was the situation. But he had drawn a really hard line. And we just said, okay, that's fine, let's go. Not take it personally, not try to force it, you said negotiating. He was not into negotiating this particular
And that's
situation. He was
fine.
just like, yeah, and it's fine too. He was just like,
Yeah.
no, I can't do it. And he
Yep.
really didn't want to get into the conversation. And we left, and I was really devastated because it was the first time I'd been like turned down. But my husband was just, okay, it's fine, don't worry about it. He was laughing. He said, it can happen. He said, that might be you that puts the hard line down and says, no, I can't do it. And it may just be something that within your body that's just not
Oh,
working,
yeah,
right?
100%. And also we have to listen to that. I think one of the key points here is I've turned down couples and not really have a tangible reason as to why, but my body immediately is like, no, this is not happening. And that's okay. You really need to listen to that gut
Yeah.
instinct, that intuition. If your physical body is saying no, then it's a clear no, and you walk away. Absolutely, 100%. You
Yeah.
know, um,
Yeah.
that's very important. What I meant by the negotiating was more within the couple and what you're willing to play around with.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and I agree with the negotiating too, but you can also feel the difference. If somebody's a hard no, then
yeah, yeah,
you have to really try. Don't take it personally. Just accept that that's the way that it happens sometimes. I mean, sometimes you have sex with your partner and they're just like, I just don't feel like it right now. And you have to
hmm
be, okay, well, we'll try another time then, whatever.
yeah,
Um, if they're like, this is not really working, then, like, okay, let's figure out what will work, how we can get more comfortable. You can start to negotiate that way. Or, like you
hmm
say, I know in my very first threesome, I did not want to be penetrated by the other person. I just said, I need to like feel what it's like to have someone else in our room together. And I can't go there. And so that was a line that was drawn up, and he was fine with it. Um, and so the event went really well, and I just also I needed that opportunity to feel trust with him, to feel trust with
hmm
my partner in a very different kind of scenario. And so it's okay to draw these kinds of lines for yourself. And
yeah,
people are people are willing to play in those spaces, and that's why, again, it's important to talk about these boundaries that you have, because you don't want to get into a place where you're meeting up and no one's really talked about discussed about the boundaries or what. Actually, we had in a scenario like that with a couple where the boundaries weren't talked about very well, and it did blow up in our faces later because he wanted something else and she didn't. It was, it's just like that's you learn that you need to put everything on the table, make it really clear what you want and what you want as a couple, what you want as a single, so that you can enter into really understanding, okay, this is how we're playing, this is the way it's going to be, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. These are all good things. I think too is also being aware that you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, yes. Boundaries will be pushed and mistakes will be made, yes.
Yeah, and just to really be open with that, open with each other around that, and not taking it so personally, but really having this beautiful opportunity to expand your relationship and go, okay, this was obviously a mistake, or I didn't think about this, and how you feel about it. And it's a great opportunity for you to deepen your connection when these things kind of happen, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. When, because threesomes, for example, there have been various studies done around threesomes, and it's one of the top fantasies that people have. But it's not. There's a top fantasy, but it's not actually played out that much by people. But there's this huge fantasy, so you get these huge expectations in your mind about what it's going to be and how it's going to turn out, and all this kind of stuff, right? But when you actually then put a human being together with you and your partnership, or if you're a single, it's a very different game, because you're dealing with all sorts of aspects that you can't, are unknown. Let's say they're unknown, how you're going to actually feel in the moment. It's unknown how you're going to really connect with that person, how far it's going to, how deep it's going to go. I mean, there's just all these unknowns, which I love. I find that's the beautiful aspect of it, because you plan it, you organize it, you talk about it, you find somebody, then you finally get together, and you have to let go to a certain extent to allow the organic process to take place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because like you said, like you have three unique individual people coming into the space. So you have the couple, and they're each two individual people, but they also have their relationship. And then you invite another person in, and they have their own unique take on things, and then how they interact individually with each person. And but like you, I think that's the best part. Like that for me is just letting things flow and really allowing myself to surrender to the moment and whatever happens. That's the fun part of the threesome. I really
yeah, and like really letting your partner, sometimes it's difficult because you may feel bits of jealousy or insecurity, and these are things also that you need to work through as you're going through these kinds of experiences. But trying to just let your partner enjoy themselves. Try to practice compersion. I did a video on compersion, so that you can feel the joy of what you're doing. Bringing bodies together, creating intimacy, creating connection. It's really an expansion in your own sexuality, right?
Yeah.
You learn so much about yourself, and whether it's an amazing experience, which some of them are just like mind-blowing, crazy, wonderful, amazing, and some are it didn't really work out that well. It's okay. They're all experiences that you learn so much from.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then don't be afraid afterwards is to have, conversation. Hey, how was that for you? What was the hottest moment for you? What did you like? And then really take that time to reflect on your experience and say,
Mm-hmm.
oh wow, this really blew my mind. Didn't realize it would be this good, or I'd like to see more of this, less of that, and that's the beautiful part about the threesome, is that it does give you those opportunities to really connect more deeply to each other. I find, or at least it's been my experience, and I think that's the beautiful part.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I always said that it's very counterintuitive, you know. And I hear a lot from men that say, "Oh, my wife would never like to do that," or "I don't know how I'm going to tell her because she would never say yes." Like, you know, there's this whole conception that women are not that sexual; they're not really thinking about sexual
Yeah,
things that much, and you know, threesome, no, like I can't possibly. But you know, women are very interested in sexual exploration and. Um, more and discovering who they are as sexual beings and having that opportunity to be in safe places where they can explore and let go, surrender more, let their
yeah,
body, you know, relax into whatever's going on.
right,
And it's, you know, it's kind of it's a gentle space holding for your wife, for your
yeah,
partner, as you move into this kind of exploration. But women want to do this. Women want
they
to be part
do.
of this.
They do. And I think, though, one of the things that I'll bring up as my own experience with my ex-husband, we were exploring our sexuality together. He was really, he brought me out of my shell a little bit. And we went out to the club, and then he was um, talking with someone, another woman, and then he comes over to me and he says, "Hey, she really wants to have a threesome with us, and we should do this." And I felt, so as a woman, we have this way of feeling, right? Feeling where the intention is. So the intention I felt coming from him was not about us; it was more about him. He wanted that experience because he didn't ask me if I wanted it, all right, or if this was something I'd be interested in, or even if I was attracted to the woman. So if you are in a position where you're wanting to discuss this with your partner, you want to make sure your intentions are actually for both of you. It is not a just me thing. This is something I want to have alone and just to experience, right? I think that's something that's important, and to really say, hey, is this something you would like? And if so, like, what does it look like for you? And don't be surprised. Maybe she would love to have sex with another man, not another woman, right?
Yeah, exactly. Usually there are
So,
surprises.
so that's a possibility, right?
Yeah,
That's what that person, your partner, might want. They might say, well, I'm not attracted to women, but I'd love to have sex with another guy. So
exactly. 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 So there's where the negotiating comes in.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, it's a scary. I find that a lot of people are really afraid to go into just really talking about it, bringing it out to their partner, afraid that their partner is going to think that they're too perverted or too wild or
Yeah.
or that they're thinking about sex all the time, and well, and then again, just like I said before, like that their partner, their wife, is just not going to be into it.
Yeah, because we're being told, like, with the waters we're swimming in, with the I like to call it the dominator program, or some people call it the patriarchy, is that
Yeah,
there's been a lot of shame and guilt put on our sexuality and what it is that we love and what gives us pleasure. And yes, so of course, there's this sense of fear and danger when we bring this up to someone we love, because then we're saying, I'm showing a part of myself to you, and it's a scary thing to do. What if you don't accept me for that?
yeah,
Right? And it takes a lot of courage to do it. However, when you do that, when you have that courage to bring this up to your partner, you're allowing them to see a deeper side of you. It creates deeper intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
It might be uncomfortable at the beginning and it might be a bit bumpy, but then there's this opportunity. It opens up this door of creating curiosity. Who is this person that I've been with X amount of years? They're bringing this up to me right now. And you might be surprised. They might say to you, holy, I've been thinking about this the whole time, but I've been too scared to bring it up. So someone needs to have the courage to say something. Whether it's you want to have sex, if you're a man and you would love to try having sex with another man. I know
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to a lot of guys on my Twitter that express this to me privately, where they're afraid to bring this up to their partners because they think, well, she's going to think I'm gay. She's going to, maybe she thinks I'm going to leave her. And these are all things that these are fears that are keeping you from deep love and intimacy with your partner.
Yeah.
And so to have that courage to start these conversations will start to deepen that bond.
Yeah,
Not,
absolutely.
or it will show where the foundation is a little bit crumbly.
Yeah, well,
And that's
holding
okay.
it in, yeah, holding it in, and is what is going to cause more pain and less intimacy, because here you are thinking about something that
Yes.
you really want, desiring something that you think you can't have because you're afraid to tell your partner,
Yeah.
and so there's this distance from each other because now
Yeah.
you're not telling them exactly what you want. They're kind of wondering, why are we not connecting anymore? Like, what's really going on here?
Mhm.
And so it takes guts, taking risks to allow it to come out, but trust that you've chosen this partner
Mhm.
that can hold the space for who you are,
Yeah.
who you are and who you become and how you change. And these desires change over time too in long-term relationships. So you're with this person, and if you've chosen to be with them in a relationship, you've chosen to be with them over long period of time.
Mhm.
You have to know that your partner is there to hold, is going to be strong enough to hold who you are,
Exactly.
right? And
100%.
so receiving it as well, receiving it with an open mind. Maybe you're going to be scared to hear it, but to receive it and say, okay, I hear this. Okay, let's talk about this now. Let me find out about it. Let me be curious about this, and so that we can shift up and change up. And I can help my partner um, go into a place that they want to explore into. I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful.
It is.
I can
Yeah,
be
for
there with
sure.
them, as opposed to not telling each other and becoming more and more separated, and then not having the opportunity to tell
Yeah.
the most intimate person in your life, how you really feel. You know
Right.
that that just breaks it down, really. So it's really being able to take that risk.
It is. Yeah. And we have to remember too that our sexuality, let's take sex off the table, but that sexual energy is what breeds life. It what creates newness, right? It's what creates everything in the universe. And so when we then have these fears and we don't talk about it, what you're basically doing is you're stuffing down that life force.
Yeah.
And then there's this feeling of I'm not being myself. I don't feel alive. When you take the courage to step into that and to ask for these things, you're freeing up that energy to fuel more life into yourself, into your relationship, into the love that you have for each other.
Hmm.
And it's such a beautiful, beautiful gift, to love your partner enough to say, hey, let's explore this. Like I need to explore this for myself, and
Hmm.
I need you to be part of this. And you know, and you don't know where it's going to take you, and that's exciting, right? That
Yeah.
the risk too is an exciting that also starts to kick in that sexual energy, right? The
Hmm.
risky things
Hmm.
that we do, right,
Oh
makes us
yeah. I mean,
feel alive.
you might feel the fear, but at the same time, you're kind of feeling like, oh, this excitement that's come up, that
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to be, doing something different. We're changing things up. We're going to go on a cool experience, something that's going to be different and unique. And yes, scary because there are the unknowns, of course, as you're
Yeah.
making your way through, right?
Yeah.
Someone's asked the question, how do you find people who want to do threesomes? And I started to talk about that in my last video about the organic method. Emma, maybe you can tell us how you're the third. How are you finding couples, or how are they finding
So,
you?
well, yeah. So here in Vancouver, there's a variety of clubs that you can become members of. Swingers clubs, that sort of thing. There's apps that you can belong to. Field is one of them. I'm not sure what the others are. I'm not in any of those apps. I don't like apps. I love organic meetings. Um, yeah, so most of the people that I meet or have met is either through that club, like, go to the club, people see your profile and then they reach out to me. Um, and then through going to parties and meeting other like-minded couples that are there, and then I just, people start to get to know you, and then you're invited to other parties, and that kind of and it doesn't take long because that community can be um, quite small. At least it is
Hmm.
in Vancouver. But there's
So
always,
you're talking about swingers parties
yeah,
specifically,
yeah, yeah, or kink parties too. That's
kink
another
parties. Yeah,
venue you can go to if you're into BDSM, that sort of thing. Um, and just starting to talk to people. I mean, I found out
you
that
have to talk to people.
you just talk to people, and yeah, that's kind of how people find me. Usually just on that one website, but through people talking about me, and I get introduced to other couples and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
usually that's how that works. Yeah, just taking a risk sometimes. Just, yeah, asking, hey, I don't know about this, but my wife and I are, you know, talking about a threesome, and we're attracted to you. Is this something you'd be interested in? You'd be surprised how many people would say yes. Ever since I joined, started doing this, every time now I'm walking down the street or going shopping or meeting new people, I look at them and I go, oh, I'm just wondering if they're open. Are they, you never know who is into have an open relationship, and that what they're doing behind closed doors, right? Unless you ask.
Yeah. I mean, the worst thing someone could say is no, but
Yeah,
and
and
I
I'm
talk about
actually very open. My daughter knows that I'm more of a not I'm into non-monogamy relationship wise, and my friends who are married, they know this part of me. I openly share it with people. Um, Within, with discernment, obviously there's certain people who aren't capable of holding that information, but my close friends are for sure 100%, and so they know, and then word gets around. People know that that's
the word gets around. Yes, that's the organic method. I mean, exactly. When the studies show that threesomes is at the top of the list for what people would like to experience, there's a lot of people that maybe are thinking about it and aren't doing anything about it, or couples that maybe are talking
yeah,
about it and haven't sort of
yeah,
moved forward into it. And
yeah,
I think even if they haven't talked about it, but they've kind of thought about it and they've been together for a while, there is always that titillation of the possibility. And or in an organic method too, it's really important as a couple or even as a single to just first open yourself to the possibility. Okay, I'm going to open myself to the possibility of having threesomes and being in that sort of energetic space that when I meet somebody, I'm kind of looking that I might get attracted to. I might be looking for little signs that I could enter into bringing something
mhm,
up about that, and it
sure,
could even lead to a phrase of like, are you interested in getting more intimate with us? Whatever
yeah,
that means, right?
yeah,
You don't have to say, hey, let's go have a threesome. You can if you
you
feel
can. Why not?
if
Why
that's
not?
if that's if that's going to work, if that's how you feel you want to say it, you can do that too. And again, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to get, no.
Yeah, exactly. You
And
do
then, okay,
surprise.
let's go next.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of couples too that have like the stag and what's it called? Stag and deer. What's the term for couples that like to watch each other have sex with their other people? Where they go to the club and then the wife goes off and starts talking with men and say, "Hey, my husband wants to watch you fuck me. Are you interested?" People do that.
Like cuckolding, kind of
Absolutely.
cuckolding.
Yeah, for sure, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
And also, there's a lot of clubs. There's events. If you look at events, you can go to events and meet like-minded people. That there. I know in the States, they have a lot. They have a lot of events that you can go to that specialize in that, and so you just go and you're like, I'm new. This is. I had friends of mine. They actually went to Portugal. They sourced out a club
Mm-hmm.
that was for non-monogamy, and they went and had an experience there.
Yeah.
So when you're traveling, that's also can be fun, is to travel and go get out of your city and meet other people in a different city, and that tends to relax you a little bit more, I think, because people won't know you there, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. That can be something fun to do as a couple too, is to do that traveling and
Yeah.
sorting out some spaces where you can explore.
Yeah, you're going incognito.
Yeah,
Usually, most cities have something somewhere, and
oh,
you can,
guaranteed.
you can, you can. You don't even have to go to these places to say we're going to go find someone to have. We're going to go have sex with someone. You can say let's just go look and explore and
Yeah,
feel it out and see what happens.
yeah,
And if nothing else, let's have some conversations with people. Like I always say, like never put high expectations. Just go and
yeah,
see what happens.
yeah, sure.
You
There's
know?
a lot of sex clubs you can go. It's your first time. They'll welcome you in with open arms. There's some clubs will have like bands or something to say, okay, we're new, we've never done this before, or we're open to having a full swap or just a
Mm,
soft swap. So there's a lot of ways that you can just go and experience that and see what happens.
yeah. Well, I know a lot of people are afraid of going to sex clubs and going to kinky events and stuff like that. And I know I was when I first started with my partner. I mean, it
Hmm.
took us a long time to get to the first kinky club,
Yeah,
thinking
for
that
sure.
thinking that
Yeah.
these people are probably crazy and everyone's having sex all over the place. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Okay, so let's break that vision, because I had my 50th birthday. I gave myself a sex party, and with all my closest couple friends that were there, and I had four of my girlfriends who'd never experienced it before ask if they could come. So it was their first time at a sex party,
Ah.
and that was their first thing they told me afterwards, is in their mind they thought they would enter into the space and they would just see people having sex everywhere, and it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
they had a great time. They said we met some really cool people. There was no pressure. And yes, there were moments where people were having sex, of course, in some of the rooms, and you could just wander in and out and look, and you didn't have to participate. And it was a real eye opener for them, because in their mind they had this vision of what these sex parties are like.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. Sometimes I've been to sex parties and no sex happens. Like
Yeah.
nothing, zero. And
Yeah.
that happens too. And that's okay,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And
So
you can go as a voyeur, and you can
yeah,
also for me, I know after a while it was nice. It was more titillating actually, not having the sex. It was knowing a very sexual event, but
yes.
people were not looking to actually they were, they're looking to connect, to find people to possibly have sex with, but it wasn't actually the sex, it was the titillation. The
Yeah, the sex
possibility was so,
costumes. Yeah.
and that's why I say this journey of finding the threesome, it's the journey that's so much fun. I mean, the
Oh, it's
connection,
so hot.
once you get,
Yeah.
when you find someone that you can have a really nice connection, is beautiful and wonderful, but the whole thing is part of it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And having your partner excited, and your wife, let's say, finding new lingerie to wear, and getting dressed, and figuring out what you're going to say, what you're going to do, and what the person, all of this is just, it just brings, life back into you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the fun part. I love all of that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, very cool, very cool. Let's see, what else can we hit upon in this conversation that we haven't? There's a lot of stuff.
Are there any other questions?
Nope, I don't see any come up right now. There's people watching, but there's no questions. I'm streaming through StreamYard, so sometimes it's hard for people to get in. But if there's any questions, let us know right away, because we'll answer them for you. And we're talking about how to have a successful threesome with your wife or with anybody else. And I'm going to be continuing to make videos throughout the month of March. The last video I did on Monday was about the organic method for meeting in a threesome. And then I'm going to do the video tomorrow, I believe, is about the more online method, the searching online method, which I also did a lot of. This was a while back when I first got involved, but it was, we used Craigslist.
Yes.
What do you need something? You go to Craigslist.
Yeah, they don't have that anymore, unfortunately.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. My God, I mean, that was like the everything source, and it was very easy to meet. And people would say, "Oh, Craigslist. I mean, that's so dangerous." I mean, it's like, who's on Craigslist? I said, "Well, I'm on Craigslist." So, I mean, if I'm on, there's other people like me on Craigslist too, and there were a
Yeah.
lot.
I met a couple. They've been in the lifestyle and swingers for 25 years, and they actually started. It wasn't Craigslist. There was like it was in the newspaper. You would find, classified ads. Hey, are you looking to have some excitement? And then they would have to call the number and then set up an appointment. A meeting time to meet. Like it was like there was no
Yeah.
apps. There was
Well,
no.
yeah, even before all of that, people were finding ways, and
Yeah,
now,
totally.
now there's so many apps that you can connect with. I don't even know all of them. There's a lot of apps so that provide services for people that are looking beyond just finding a partner, but finding you as a partner, looking for all kinds of different kinds of experiences. And so I'm going to talk a bit more about that tomorrow, but the online method is booming, especially now that COVID is over. I mean, online was big time happening during COVID, but no, you weren't actually able to like meet physically.
Yeah.
But now it's just booming because people are coming out, people are wanting to connect with other people. I think people are wanting to explore this dimension of themselves, as a couple or as a single. It's just wow, like there's all of this stuff that I was taught growing up has just been not true, and sex is actually an integral part of me as a human being, and me growing and expanding into my sexual dimension is actually going to affect all of me. And like you were saying, it's your life force, creative energy that you're tapping into, that you're opening more to, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in essence, it's a part of who you are, right? It's one thing I'm going to make a comment is as the third person, I'm not super keen on labels, and definitely you don't want to make the person that you're inviting into your space feel like an object, like they're just there for your pleasure. if I see an ad and it says, "Oh, we're looking for a unicorn," I have no interest in meeting that couple, because it says to me, I'm just going to be a sex object. So please remember that when you are looking for this person, that it is a person with desires and needs, and with a life, and with emotions, and they require just as much respect as you do as a couple. And so really keeping that in mind when you're out looking online, that sort of thing, just being mindful and say, we're a loving couple. We're looking to include a wonderful person into our intimate space. It's a great way to invite somebody in your space, as opposed to saying, yeah, we were looking for the elusive unicorn. We're not, I'm not an elusive person. I'm actually quite
Yeah.
open and available for the right people.
Yeah. Yes.
So really keeping that in mind too when you're out there searching.
Yeah, and I think most people I've talked to are looking for that kind of a connection. Wanting something a little bit deeper, not a little bit, but deeper connections with somebody
And
that they feel really, wow, this is a cool person. I know. I think every experience I've ever had, it's been in that direction.
yeah,
If I don't feel connected to the person, if I don't feel on the same wavelength of that person, it's just not of interest. I want
no,
to I want to have a certain amount of intellectual emotional connection too. It doesn't have to be, we're not going to go into deep conversations necessarily, but some people that I was with became good friends,
yeah, yeah,
because
absolutely.
we were kind of similar, and we were open and able to yeah, we were just on the same wavelength, let's say.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, when I'm with couples, again, I'm not looking to fall in love with
Hmm.
anyone. However, I am very loving in my exchange with the people that I'm with, and caring,
Hmm.
respectful. And so it's a very different thing, right? Um, so keeping that in mind.
Yeah, and I think that is one fear that people have. I do get that sometimes, where people say, well, they projecting very far in the future. What if somebody comes in, and then my
Fall in
partner
love.
like falls
Yeah.
in love with them, and then suddenly that they want to be more with that person, and it doesn't happen over a first event. First of all, you can really like the person, and you can start seeing them more. And yes, you might start to love that person. You might fall in love with that person.
Mhm.
It might become polyamorous. Something else might happen.
Yeah.
You can't know. You can't know exactly where it's going to lead you. But you can know that you can keep in really close communication with each other about how you feel, and what you're expecting. And I was in a scenario once with a third man, and he became a partner of mine, and I was very much into wanting to explore polyamory. And at first my partner was open to it, and it went for a little while, and then my partner, my husband at the time, just said, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't really want to share you in that way. And the other man was falling in love with me, and and I had to end it with him, because I wanted to stay with my partner, and I love that man as as my part as a second person to be with. But it was just, I wanted, you have to tread carefully through these waters. There's big emotions that come up, and it was painful to cut him out, but it was the best decision I made, because he really wanted to fall in love and have a partner. And I just couldn't provide that. I didn't want to provide that for him. I
Mhm.
had a partner, right? So things can happen over time if you meet someone and you spend more and more and more and more time with them. But that's why the communication has to keep open
Mhm.
about how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, well, we've gone on for like an hour, and I think we can start to wrap up. I don't get any more questions here, and want to thank you, Emma, for coming on again.
Thanks. It's always fun. I love our conversations because they roll so nicely. It just flows. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, and I was called to do this month, March of Threesomes, because a lot of people were talking about it with me and asking me more questions, and I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to do a whole bunch of videos about it. Start breaking the taboos around it. Let's talk about it. Let's ask questions. Let's share stories. And I'm getting a lot of people commenting on the posts and sharing their stories. And I welcome you if you watch this later, if you're watching it now, to share something that you've experienced or ask questions or anything. Like, it's a community that I'm building here because I want us to embrace our sexuality, embrace our ability to sexually explore who we are with our partners or as singles, and not be afraid of it.
Yeah, it's great. They're so lucky to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, Emma.
Thanks.
And maybe we'll speak again in a half a year.
Or maybe sooner. I'd love to
or
come
maybe
back.
Sooner. All right.
Nice to
Take care. Thank you for joining if you've been here with us, or thank you for coming in whenever you had the opportunity, and subscribe to my channel. Click the alarm button because I'm going to be posting other videos, and we'll see you again soon. Much love making.